Welcome back to Survive and Thrive. I'm Nathan Hurd, Chief Growth Officer with the Oxford Club. And today I want to talk about something that is so fundamental, so important to your level of contentment. But it's also so easy to overlook, to forget, and it's easy not to stay closely in touch with. Most of us, most of you watching here, if I asked you, what in your life do you have to be truly grateful for? I think if asked that question, you start to focus on and think about those things. It's easy to find them, isn't it? But as we walk around every day, moment to moment through our lives, how grateful are we truly for all the good fortune we have? I think if we have good lives, if you have good things in your life that you can be grateful for, I think it's our responsibility to appreciate those things. Because the truth is that the rest of the world isn't like that. There are so many people in the global population that have a very different experience of life than I'm guessing you probably have. And that's okay. And it's getting better, by the way, much better. Since 1960, in the last 50 plus years, the global extreme poverty rate has gone from 50% down to 9%. So, in general, the trends in the world are moving very much in the right direction. But for most of us, we are in a very good position if we want to look for that. And I think it's our responsibility to find it. So, I recently read a book. It's called Factfulness. Factfulness. I highly recommend it. The author is a data scientist and a speaker, and he talks to audiences all around the world, many of whom are highly, highly educated. And he asks them questions about global trends, poverty, electricity, pollution, violent crime, et cetera, et cetera. And in many cases, like 80+%, no matter how well educated, get these questions completely wrong. We have a distorted perspective in many cases. It's important to remember that the world is actually a lot better than we think it is. And of course, our perception is distorted by the feeds that we have on our phones, the news media that we consume, which is always looking at what's wrong, not what's right. Today, I wanted to share with you 4 levels of the global population that came from this book, actually. Most of us, you hear oftentimes people say things like, there's the developed world, and then there's everyone else. There's the West, and then there's everyone else, right? And it's almost like it's a sort of a black and white or a binary thing, and it's just not that way. There's a lot more complexity to the global population and also to people's experience based on their level of poverty and wealth. And so, as I go through these, remember what I just said. Things by and large are getting much better and are very well moving in the right direction. So many people in the past few decades have been pulled out of extreme poverty and will continue to be. But it's important we remember just how different the experience is for others around the world so that we can remember how much we have, how much good fortune we have to truly appreciate it. I think as long as we appreciate what we have, not only is our experience of life better, but it helps us to remember and appreciate and empathize with other people in other places. So there's 4 levels, and I'll start with the first level. This is extreme poverty. These are individuals that live on less than $1 or less a day. And about 1 billion people in the world live this way today, currently. So just imagine someone that has perhaps about 5 children. This is kind of an average example, that spend hours each day walking barefoot to a watering hole that's often very dirty with a single plastic bucket that you have for the family to fetch water. They get each day, the children are gathering firewood to cook and preparing the same simple meal, which is some sort of porridge that you've had every single day of every week for your entire life. In some cases, the crops that you're trying to grow produce no yield, in which case you scavenge or you go hungry. Your children, because you're cooking open flames to cook your food inside each day, have a tendency and can often develop lung issues. The smoke from those fires can weaken their lungs. If and when this happens, you can't afford the antibiotics that would help to make your child better, and so they have a small chance of survival, and in many cases may not. Your best chance at getting out of extreme poverty at this level is to grow a surplus of crops that you can sell, which would help to boost you up to level 2. Level 2 is where you have quadrupled your daily income on average to $4 a day. Roughly 3 billion people live in level 2 around the world today. You can now buy food that you didn't grow yourself. You can afford chickens, which means eggs. You can save money and buy sandals for your children, a bike to go fetch the water, and more buckets. So that time to go get water each day has been reduced to about a half an hour instead of an hour. You can buy a gas stove so they don't have to go and fetch wood each day and can attend school instead. When there's power, they can do their homework under a bulb. The power at this point is still too unstable for a freezer. But if you save up, you can buy a mattress so you're no longer sleeping on the floor. At this stage, life is much better than it once was, but a single illness in the family, and you'd have to sell many of your possessions and could be at risk of going back down to level 1. In order to get to the next level, level 3, you really need the ability to get into town to find a paying job, a factory job. Level 3, if you make it here, you have again, on average, quadrupled your daily income to $16 a day. Level 3 is roughly 2 billion people. At this stage, you work multiple jobs, about 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you're able to save enough to install a cold water tap in your home, which means you don't have to go fetch water each day. You have stable electricity, homework for your children improves, and you can buy a fridge to store food and serve different dishes each day for the first time. You're able to save and buy a motorcycle, which allows you to travel for the first time into town to get a better paying job at a factory. If you have an accident or if anyone gets sick, that would set you back quite a bit, and may risk the money you've saved for your children's education, as often that's your aspiration. But 2 of your kids start high school, and if they finish, they will be able to get a better paying job than you have ever had, and that anyone in your family has ever had. If you can make it out of here to the next level, level 4, you now have made it to $32 a day on average, or anything more than $32 rather. You are now considered a rich consumer. $3 more a day or less makes very little difference to you. So that $3 that is life-changing for someone in extreme poverty, you're not going to notice the difference very much in your daily life. You have more than 12 years of education. You've been on an airplane or a vacation of some sort. You can eat out once a month. You can buy a car. You have hot and cold water. This is kind of a baseline example for people in level 4. So if you think about it, at least in the US, some of our poorest communities would still be considered level 4 in comparison to the rest of the world. I would guess that if you're watching this, you're using a computer, you're using a phone, you have quite a bit better life than the description I just gave. And we have to remind ourselves of this, because otherwise we can struggle to understand what it's truly like for the majority of the global population. Now, again, I share this with you because it's important not to just say, developed, non-developed, and sort of categorize things very vaguely that way. There's a lot of difference. For someone in extreme poverty, making it to that next level is an enormous difference. And for those of us that have so much to be grateful for, that have a good life, that have modern conveniences, that have good relationships, good support systems, being in touch with and reminding yourself of how powerful that is can mean all the difference in the experience you have in life and the empathy you have for other people. So listen, take a moment today and remember how grateful you are. And as long as you appreciate what you have, I think we're doing our part to really enjoy our good fortunes and to be concerned for those that don't have those same good fortunes. I want to thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today. And until next time, this has been the Survive and Thrive series. Thanks.